In 1757, Great Britain and France were at war in North America. The people already living there, the Native Americans, were caught in the middle. Andrew Blackbird was a member of the Ottawa group of Native Americans. He wrote a history of these people. In it, he told a story about the world. Adam Navis tells this story. The Ottawa received a gift in a tin box. They would not open it. They would not open it until they arrived back to their people. They believed that inside the box there was something to help their people. When the Ottawa arrived at their home, they opened the box. Inside there was another box and another. Finally, they came to a very small box, only a few centimeters long. Inside this box was a small amount of particles that looked like dust. The Ottawas investigated the dust. Many of them looked at it closely, but they did not know what it was. Soon after this, a terrible sickness invaded the Ottawa camp. Everyone who got this sickness died. They had been given a sample of the smallpox disease. Throughout history, smallpox has killed millions of people, but today, no one has smallpox. In fact, people could destroy it completely. But should we? Today's spotlight is on smallpox and a choice to keep or destroy remaining smallpox samples. When someone is infected with smallpox, he begins to show symptoms or signs after 2 weeks. Then she has 2 to 4 days of high fever. Then a rash appears. Areas of the skin show red bumps, small red areas. The rash begins on the face and legs. Then it spreads around the body. The rash turns into a large bump filled with liquid pustules. After a time, these pustules form crabs, skin that dries over the wounds. During this time, an infected person can spread the disease. Small particles of skin fall off the person. Person breathes the particles and become infected. Smallpox is very contagious. It spreads very easily. The smallpox virus kills about 30% of the people who get it. In weaker populations, like the very old or very young, the number is even higher. People who survive often show permanent marks of the virus. Many become blind. There is no cure for smallpox. When people become infected, the only treatment is to try and make them more comfortable. But in 1796, Edward Jenner produced a form of protection against smallpox. It was a vaccine. Slowly, Jenner's vaccine gained popularity. It, it also became more and more safe. People, people who received the vaccine injection before they got smallpox were safe. Soon, people all over the all over the world were using and improve, improving this vaccine. In in the 1950s and 60s, the World Health Organization and other world leaders became serious about fighting smallpox. They produced a, a great amount of the smallpox vaccine. Teams traveled the world, giving the vaccine to every person. Then something happened that had never happened before in the history of the world. Then something happened that had never happened before in the history of the world. No person in the world had smallpox. The last natural case of smallpox was in Somalia in 1977, and in 1980, the WHO declared the world officially free of smallpox. Today, people do not need to get a vaccine for smallpox. However, small amounts samples of this disease exist. There are two official samples located in two different laboratories. One is at the US Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta. The other is at Vector in Russia. These samples are stored safely in liquid freezers. They are protected by many security measures. But the question is now, what do we do to these samples of this deadly virus? Some experts believe that we should destroy the virus samples. They say we already have enough information about the virus. They say the virus samples are dangerous. One dishonest scientist could steal small samples of the disease. He could sell it to be used as a weapon, or the virus could be released accidentally. But other experts say that destroying smallpox samples would be a mistake. They say people still have a lot to learn from the smallpox virus. Scientists still do not know exactly how it affects people, why it's so deadly. It is so possible that the smallpox virus samples could be used to fight a different disease. For example, scientists in Canada have recently created a hotspot virus. It is similar to smallpox. The scientists hope to use it to develop vaccines and cancer treatments. Natalie Fassi is the head of the National Institute of Energy and Infectious Disease in the United States. He told the Washington Post, "Why people should not be worried about these experiments. Zika, Fluenza, and Ebola literally change and evolve evolved to become more dangerous. These things are much more of a danger to civilization than the possibility that someone may be able to create a smallpox in a laboratory. People should concentrate on what we have been talking about for a long time, getting prepared for things that would actually threaten us. It's also difficult to know if, if all samples have been destroyed, or samples of smallpox are supposed to be officially recorded. But in 2014, 6 samples of smallpox were found in a laboratory in the United States. They had just been forgotten for many years. They were sent to the U.S. Center for Disease Control to be to be to be destroyed. But do other forgotten samples exist somewhere? Finally, can people really decide to destroy something completely from the earth? The smallpox virus is deadly, but it is still alive. Many people believe that only God should have the power to destroy something completely. In both 2011 and 2014, this issue appeared before the World Health. Both times they agreed not to destroy the remaining samples. They could not agree on whether to destroy the samples or not. They decided to delay talking about this issue until later.